Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. When is enough enough? I am your host, Maritza, the founder of an organization called Enough Cries. And today I have a special guest, my friend Kristyn. Can we welcome Kristyn? Welcome, Kristyn, and thank you for being today on my podcast and to share your story. I know we have become social media friends. I don't even know how exactly we met through social media.
We did meet through social media in a candle group, actually.
That's right. That's right. I was looking for someone to create a engraving of one of my candles for my organization. I am excited. I'm super excited that you're here and that you're going to share your story with us today. Because your story is a little different than mine. We face about the same challenges, but your story has a different twist to it.
Right.
And I am excited that you're going and you're open to sharing today a little bit about yourself and what you've been through and how God was able to give you that transformation from then to now. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself? I know you're a mother, your grandmother, and an owner of Mountain Designs in Colorado.
Yes, I live in Colorado. I am a mother of 5 with 3 grandchildren. Me and my husband own Mountain Designs on the side, and then I'm a chaplain for hospice.
That's true. Chaplain. I will say I used her services Wednesday.
I think so, yeah.
I had a friend that passed away, and he was looking for someone to pray for him. And the first thing that came into mind was, I'm calling Kristyn. Because she's experiencing this, and I have no clue how to do this. But I want to thank you for that, for praying over the family and giving them strength. If you can tell me a little bit, I know your story, like I said, it's a little different from mine's, but if you can tell me a little bit about what were your challenges when you were facing abuse? And what kind of abuse? Like, I know there's different kinds of forms of abuse. There's physical, verbal, financial, emotional. What category would you place yourself in?
I would say more of like the verbal and emotional, and I think it started as a young kid, and it just kind of went all the way through up until maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. So, and I think just growing up as a child in that, in that setting, maybe I just become accustomed to it. So that's kind of what I was seeking out.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of verbal and emotional abuse where they kind of control your mind and tell you, how to think, what you should do, what you should wear, stuff like that.
When you say 7 years ago, like, I know the emotional part, and the verbal part too. It can be very challenging to what you think of yourself.
Right.
Right? Because they take away the way you see yourself in the mirror, and you start believing what they see and what, they're saying that you are. So what was one of the things, if you can think of, that took away who Kristyn was?
What took away me? There's a lot of things that took away me. I wasn't me. I can't remember ever being me up until recently, actually, because, it started at a young age. Like, this is what you're going to do. These are the grades you're going to make. This is the college you're going to go to. And it just kind of went further on. And this is how you're going to wear your hair. This is the weight you need to be. It just kind of went forward. So I don't think there was ever a time where this is what I wanted to do. This is what Kristyn wanted to do. And this is what Kristyn wanted to be up until I started to go to school to be a chaplain, actually. And I started to heal and I started to work through everything. And I realized oh my gosh, like this is me, this is my journey. This isn't y'all's journey anymore. You can't tell me what I need to do and what I need to be. And, the idea of controlling someone with fear to make them do what they want to do, to make them work where they need to work, like it's,
Well, so you're saying this is like from childhood.
yep,
You really didn't know who Kristyn was because everybody had already made you to their to how they wanted you to be.
right.
So at what point did you start abusing substance?
I guess I would say the alcoholism started, I don't really know if this is appropriate to talk about, but after the military, I got discharged honorably from the Navy after I guess you could say sexually assaulted. I don't like the other word, but that's when, I took it to the head person on my ship, and to fix the problem, they made me sniff paint, which sounds unbelievable, but it's the actual truth. I had to sniff paint, and then they discharged me honorably so that I wouldn't tell anybody. And this was the person I trusted. This was a doctor on my ship. Like, I didn't go forward to the police because in the military, you just don't do that. There's so many women getting murdered now, and so much backlash that comes along with it. And I noticed that just because they let me go. And so then that was when that started, and I started to come back to normal. And then I just kind of went further, in relationships. And I guess after so many years of being, and I guess just being in that instance, and that, I can't explain it, in that relationship, that I didn't know how to handle it when I got out. And so the only way that I can handle it when I got out was to not remember. And so then that's when the drinking started. And then that's when the other drug use started. And I did bring meth into it. And I liked it because I didn't have to deal with the world. The issue is my kids were still in it. My kids were still in the world. They were young, and then they had to deal with watching their mom kind of go off a bender because she couldn't handle it.
Right.
I couldn't handle the pain. I couldn't handle what I went through. I couldn't handle the mental abuse. So I just blacked out because it was the easiest thing to do. And I didn't even take anyone else's feelings into consideration but my own. So sorry.
No, I mean, I appreciate you being so transparent and sharing your testimony. But you're absolutely right. When we are in a dark place in our life, we become selfish because we don't take in consideration the fact that we have children, and we may feel like we're not loved and we're by ourselves. And yes, we may turn to substance abuse. We become suicidal. We just don't know where we are in our lives. And that dark place, and I know it very well, that's a horrible place to be in. Um, but somehow, because of the abuse, we end up there and not reaching out for help.
Right.
Because we feel like there is no help and there's no one there to understand our pain.
Right.
That is why I'm so thankful because one, we met through social media without knowing, right? Without knowing each other's story.
Right.
Messaging each other, we started sharing our story and what we've been through, and we saw that we had so much in common. And here we are today. We're friends. We call each other up. We encourage each other. I know I send you a lot of YouTube Christian music stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're constantly on my mind. I'm always thinking of you, and I'm really thankful because even though you've been through so much, and your only outlet, in your mind was substance abuse because that was a way of you escaping.
Right.
right? But the turnaround of this story is the fact that you cleaned up,
Yeah.
and it wasn't just for yourself, it was for your family.
Yeah. That was a week I will never forget. I there's a lot of detail with it that's really, it's really not appropriate, but I just remember falling on my knees in the bathroom begging God to take it away from me. Like, please God, just take this away from me. I don't, like, I would see people on the road and I would be jealous that they were sober. I was like, it must be nice to be sober. I don't know how to do that. But I did. I fell on the ground, and it got to the point where, like, I was literally writing scripture on my wall. I was reading the Bible every night. I was listening to Christian music, but I was still messing up. So I felt like this internal fight back and forth with like the devil and God, like God trying to save me. And I just begged him. I said, please, please take this away from me. I'll do anything. And it was that night I had a dream, and there it is in the background, actually. That was the dream I had. And at the end of it was Jesus, and it was a well-lit path, and I was walking towards him. And that's when the journey began. I ended up becoming homeless. We lost our house, lost our vehicles, but we were sober. It's the best I ever felt in my life. I didn't care that I was homeless. Like, everything changed. Like, the sky changed. There was clouds in the sky. There was grass on the ground. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was taking pictures of everything. And now that I look back, I'm like, those pictures aren't very pretty, but they felt pretty.
Right.
Like, I could just, it was just almost like I was a whole new person on the inside. Like, life mattered, and we just kind of got our stuff together, and I started going to church, and it was it's a really fancy church. It was 2 stories. It had all the chandelier, and I mean, there's no way that they were going to want me in this church, right? Like, there's no possible way. And I went in there, and there's a prayer box outside, and this is what saved me. It was a food, I can't think of what it's called. It's a food box they put outside the church, and a prayer box attached to it. And I put a prayer in there, and I was 2 months sober at that point. And I started getting food, and this lady pulled up, and she was like, do you need more food? Can I pray for you? She read the prayer, and she invited me to church. And I was like, there's no way they're going to want me in church. This lady literally saved my life. This church saved my life. They looked at me, and they knew I was homeless, and they were like, you're bigger than this. Like, you're going to do something big. They got to the point where, like, I had been going a few months, and they said, you're going to be moving to Colorado. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I know nothing of Colorado. Like, I know my dad had went up there to try to get my mom a place, but I was like, I'm in Oklahoma at this point. They're like, you're going to do something big. I see it on your life. Like, there's something big that's going to happen. And I was like, no one has loved me, and no one has like had faith in me to tell me that. And I was just like, you're crazy. And then sure enough, like, I ended up becoming a chaplain in Colorado with this long journey. And it was amazing. And it was all like a few people that believed in me, all through the Lord. And the feeling that I got through my body was, I guess, unexplainable. I call it a God hangover. I don't know if you've ever had yeah. The whole next day, you feel like you've been drinking the night before, and all it was the Holy Spirit just engulfed in you. And it was, my first time experiencing that, because I knew who God was, but I didn't know who God, you know what I mean?
Like, you had an encounter.
Right. I had
God, but you never had that encounter with him.
Right.
And I completely can relate to you when you said you saw the clouds and everything became so much brighter, because I know a point in my life when, again, I left, back home to come to Virginia to start over. And even though I didn't use substance abuse, but I was very suicidal.
Right.
And you become selfish, but then at one point when you're not in that place, you start thinking like, oh God, who's going to take care of my kids?
Right.
Because it doesn't matter how much you've gone through, your heart is always like, what about my kids?
Right.
And I will never forget. I ended up going to a service, and I was coming home from work, and I was late to this. It was a women's conference, and I was like, I'm not going to go because I'm late. I don't want to disturb anybody when I walk into the church. But somehow my car went into the parking lot. I ended up at the church, and I sat in the back. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to bother nobody. The service was about forgiveness. And in my mind, I was like, I am not forgiving this man. I am not. I'm not. No one knows what I've been through, and no one knew my story. And I was like, nope, I'm not forgiving. And I'm here having a battle with God. Like, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing this. You can forget about this. I don't even know why I came into church today. And it's just like through this conversation, like you said, you were in the bathroom and you had this instinct of throwing yourself in the ground. I automatically said, if you want me to forgive him, break my heart and make me over.
Right.
And as soon as I was done with that sentence, Kristyn, it's just like the heavens opened and it just came over me, and I started weeping and crying. You know, that ugly cry, that ugly cry. Like, you're like, oh, it's like,
yeah.
I couldn't stop crying. And I remember the preacher that night was like, who, like they were trying to figure out, like, where is all this weeping coming from? And they took me to the front, and all the ladies like put their hands over me.
The altar call.
I'm still fussing now. I'm still fussing. I'm like, nope, I'm not forgiving him. I'm not forgiving him. And I was like, God, if you want me to forgive him, break my heart. Like, break my heart. And I drove home crying. I fell asleep crying. And in the morning, I was like, well, this didn't work. I was still pissed off. I'm like, this didn't work. But in my heart, I knew that I wanted to forgive. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
And the next night I had a dream, like, I can't use you until you forgive.
Right.
And the following night I woke up to go to work. And like you said, it was like the skies were blue, like more blue than normal.
Yeah.
The sun was shining, like sun rays was coming through the clouds. I can hear the birds clear.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? Like, why? Like, it's like my eyes open to a whole new world, and I could see everything much brighter.
Right.
And I realized throughout the day, it was like this peace came over me. And it was like you said, it was like a spiritual high.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, what is going on? And that's when God started revealing himself to me, because it's like, it's like the hatred that I had for him was gone.
Right.
And all this love just poured into me. And I knew it was God's love pouring into me. And I was able to feel that different kind of love, because I've never experienced love. Even though I have 3 kids, it's just that I felt like unconditional love over me. And, I wasn't being judged. And, everything that he said that I was, it was like I had to see it differently. And I told myself the day, I always ask God, I said, God, just use me, like, use me to do your will. Use me to help other women. Like, did I just go through all this?
Right.
Because, like, what was the motive behind that? And like you have your testimony. Now you're a chaplain and you are saved. You can speak by experience. Because I can't speak about the mental abuse and the verbal abuse, but your story has a different twist to it. And you're going to change so many women's lives because of what you've been through and how you was able to overcome and how you're allowing God to use you. And that's to me is just like, it's not by luck that we cross paths. It was destined for us to cross paths. Like, God allowed that, because I meet a lot of people on social media, and especially on the crafting app, social media. Like, I love to craft. You're a crafter too. And it's just like, we just crossed paths. It was like we clicked and we instantly stayed connected.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a blessing that what you've been through, what we have been through to help other women, and not just to help other women, but to show people the mercy and how amazing God is. Right.
Right. Right. And I think like as in my position and probably all women's position or whoever's in the situation, there's this fear. Like there was this constant fear and this constant cover up. Like no one knew what was going on because we didn't let anyone know. Do you know what I mean? And so when everything came to like a head, when everything was all said and done, no one still knew. So then it makes you out to be the bad person because you come forward because you're ready to get saved. You went to substances, so you're the bad person. And so I feel like I did so many years hiding stuff, to make the other person look good or keeping it quiet because I'm scared of the repercussions of vocalizing what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm scared of the repercussions. And there's so many females or so many people out there that go through that. Like they hide and they don't want to speak out because of it. Because
Right.
if I speak out, just like in the military, if I was to speak out more or I was supposed to go to someone, I could have potentially gotten murdered. That happened in Fort Hood. The woman they found her dead after she went to someone. So, I mean, it's a constant fear. And I didn't even come forward about the military stuff until 2 years ago when I started fighting for my VA disability. And that's just something from, that part of my life. So it takes a long time, and I think it takes others to walk beside you, because I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have, like, I think it's my VSO officer pushing me and fighting with me and telling me it's okay that, just certain people that you need to walk that path with that will help you.
Right.
So.
And you're right. It's like, this is not something that's discussed in the military. And I know there's a lot of women that are in the situations that we were in, but they have to deal with it because they'll get dishonorary discharge. So it's like, you wanted to do this as a career and you wanted to be there for our country, but do you speak out or do you stay at a hush? And then when you stay at a hush, is like, how do you deal with that? Because perfect example is like, I kept it at a hush, and that infested in me, and hatred infested in me, and it made me suicidal. It made me just disconnect from a lot of people. And I know that's not my personality. Like, I'm a very outgoing personality, but I noticed the difference. And when I finally spoke out, people were like, what? Like,
Right.
Like, what do like, they just were so thrown off about it. But you become so good at hiding and playing it off and showing people that I'm not going through anything. I'm just happy. Our relationship is just peachy. There's nothing wrong with our relationship. You're able to play that role. And then when you finally come out, people are so surprised about it.
They are, and they don't believe you. And you know what I mean? And you don't want to say anything.
That we have. Right. And that's why a lot of people don't come out, because they're like, are they going to believe me or are they not going to believe me? So it's a touchy subject, but I do want to encourage people to come out and speak out, because to me, speaking out and starting my organization was the start of my healing process. Because I don't want to say, oh, I started an organization, but I was healed. I know what, I wasn't. I really, really wasn't.
Right.
I was still fighting demons, and I was still giving myself words of affirmation. And I still give myself words of affirmation. I mean, if you go walk around my house in the mirrors, you'll see like a Bible verse, or you'll say, you're beautiful, you're talented, you're smart. It's just words. I need that constantly for myself, because if not, sometimes I will fall back if I can't accomplish something. And I'm like, was he right?
Right.
And then I got to take myself out of that. Like, no, like, I could do this. It's just going to take me a little longer, but I still can, get it done.
Right.
Do you experience that? Like if you're going through something and then all of a sudden you feel like, maybe he was right, like
Constantly. I think like I'm about to go to school to get my doctorate. And I feel like an overachiever because I'm always trying to push
above and beyond.
I am, but I want that what's that word? The validation. You know what I mean? Are you proud of me? Are you proud of me? Did I do good? Did I do good? And that's constantly something I fight. And then there's triggers that occur. Someone can say something off the wall, or I can be in a different state, like certain, you know what I mean? And it just, I go backwards. I feel like I go backwards and I have to stop myself. And I do, I pray. I'm getting way better at it, where I would be in a depression for like a week because I'm convinced, okay, because I weigh myself because of the remarks that were made.
Right.
I weighed myself daily, and I have gotten to a point where I weigh myself weekly now. So I'm getting better because, I got told once I hit a certain weight, that's it. Like you're done. And so it became an obsession. And here I am in this healthy relationship, and I could be 400 pounds and he's like, oh man, you're so beautiful. But still, I'll go back to that scale and I'm like, what does the scale say? And I still find myself going back to it and I have to catch myself, but it does take a lot of prayer, because I know it's the devil going, I got you again. I'm like, no,
right.
You don't have me. Like there's a lot with that.
Yes. There's going to be everyday challenges.
Yeah.
Every day is a challenge, and every day, I think we had one discussion, just talk to God randomly in your car and be like, hey, I'm going through this right now. Like, I need you to come on down and help me do something, because I do it all the time.
Yeah.
There's times when I'm in the car and I'm, going through something financially and I'm like, how am I going to do this? Or how am I going to do that? And I'm like, God, like, please jump in any minute now and help me lead me through, don't solve the problem. Just lead me through, walk with me through it, because sometimes it's not what we say in our prayer, but how we say it, And I always ask them, like, lead me through it, walk me through it. Don't leave me, I don't want to walk through things by myself, like walk with me. And I've learned through the years that he has never left me. I just felt alone.
Yeah.
We feel, as humans, we feel alone. We feel like we're unloved, we're unworthy, but you are worthy. You are worthy of his love. You are worthy of your well-being here. And I'm so blessed. I'm blessed that I crossed paths with you. Social media is an amazing platform. I mean, some people use it for business and what we're interested in our organizations, but tell me a little bit, because I know we met through social media because of the crafting, but I want to share that you make lemon turmeric soap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many of these I brought, but this is my last one, so I need to place another order. They're amazing. So if anybody wants to place an order of soap, I didn't know until today that this was a man's soap, but it smells amazing. Tell us a little bit about your business so people can place orders and go on your website and support you.
Well, we actually do laser engraving, and I got tired of my husband being the one doing everything. So I decided to make soaps and candles, and that kind of came about because of all the allergies we have, and there's so many chemicals in everything. So that's when I started doing the all natural soaps. But we personalize engravings. We can personalize candles, soaps, whatever. And I try to focus on what is beneficial, like the lemon turmeric. It has kojic acid in it. It helps get rid of any spots on your face. It helps it glow. I also do an apple cider vinegar soap, which is really amazing for your skin. And I go back and forth with those. I never know which one to use when I'm taking a shower. I'm like, okay, this week I'm going to use apple cider vinegar because both of them kind of have the same effects. But I try to do it that will benefit the person. So
Well, I will tell you, I have both on the shower.
yeah.
And I don't know which one I'm going to use that day, but whatever I grab, that's what I'm going to use. And
Right.
I have really sensitive skin, and I have not had an issue with any of your soaps. So I would recommend it to people that have sensitive skin, especially sensitive skin. It's an all natural product. Um, but yeah, the engraving part of it too is amazing. I'm a little upset that I didn't pull out my engraving candle lid, but next time. But I want to thank you, Kristyn, for sharing your story
You're
and
welcome.
sharing how you allowed God to work within you and share where you're at today. That's truly a blessing. And yes, I do believe in my heart that you are going to be a blessing to other women in your community. And just don't, keep moving forward. We're going to have our hard days, but
Yeah.
just try to stay positive. Oh, now you can call me.
Yeah. Yeah. I do talk to you when I have a bad day sometimes. You're pretty.
I'm always there. I'm a phone call away. But I want to thank everyone who has tuned in. And we have the podcast the first Saturday of every month. And this is a platform that God placed in my heart for people to share their testimony who has not opened. This is Kristyn's it's first time, right?
It's yeah, it's my first
It's
time
our
and I was
first time.
really nervous. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a platform for people to share their stories and encourage women and men, even our young girls, to just move forward and trust in God. We all have obstacles. We all go through things in life. We all have our challenges, but we have to just know where our conditional love comes from, and that's from God, and stay focused and positive, and just reach out to someone. Reach out to someone that can help us out and pull us through. I mean, the only one that can really truly pull us through is God, but there's always someone there. When you think you're alone, there's always someone there. We have the hotline number that you can call 24/7 is 1-800-799-7233. If not, you can text start at 88788. These are bilingual services, so it's not just English. They speak Spanish and other languages that you can reach out to. So don't hesitate in reaching out to the hotline, or like I said, a family member or even a facility in your community. They're very useful, but you have to reach out because no one knows what you're going through behind closed doors. So again, Kristyn, thank you so much for being part of the podcast, and I will stay in contact with you. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Bye.